let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams here for a little bit. Look, played very well against the Baltimore Ravens, a very, very good, probably the best team in the AFC. Baltimore Ravens took them into overtime. Unfortunately, didn't come away with the victory, but it's clear that this Rams football team is a serious contender in the NFC, not just to make the playoffs and potentially make some noise as well in the playoffs. And I think a big part of that is due to a really smart move they made for the offense. And this was highlighted by the Ringer. And we've got a section of that piece to throw up. Miles, if you want to go ahead and pull it up on the screen, I'll read from it and then we'll talk about it on the other side. In year three of the McVay Stafford partnership, the offense has finally transformed into something completely different from what we were used to seeing when Goff was under center in LA. You'll notice by the chart there that the Rams are up to using the shotgun 62% of the time, up from 42%. Play action is down from 33 to about 20%. Bootlegs are down about half. Deep throws are up about 50%. In the RPO game is still very small, but there's still a little bit more RPOs this year. The piece goes on to say this was already kind of true in 2021. The Rams started calling more drop back passes, more RPOs that took advantage of Stafford's slick throwing ability, and more shotgun formations. The offense was just more interesting, and it was definitely more challenging for the quarterback. This season, with Stafford playing at such a high level, McVay has been able to raise the bar for his quarterback once again. Sunday's losing effort in Baltimore, which was impressive no matter the 37-31 score, was a dazzling display of arm talent and sharp offensive design. All right, I think this article highlights a really important thing that's going on with the Rams and McVay. Because one of the things with McVay's offense, everyone was like, look, they do the under center, they do the bootlegs, they do the wide zones, and that's basically what he does. That's his whole scheme, that's his whole shtick. But I think the brilliance of Sean McVay is really not the plays he calls in the formations, but adapting his offensive concepts to the personnel around him. He ran that offense with Goff because that's how they could be effective with Goff. He is modifying and continuing to modify his offense to match what Matt Stafford's abilities are, especially now that Stafford's coming off of injury and is playing at a high level. I think that's the real genius of Sean McVay, is understanding what his players are good at and putting them in positions to be successful. If that sounds familiar, it's exactly what Bill Belichick did for 2 decades with the New England Patriots. I think there's a chance, it's early, but I think there's a chance McVay may be onto something remotely similar in Los Angeles. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are involving the Rams and specifically their offense. But first, LA fans got a big game coming up this weekend against the Washington Commanders. I say it's a big game because you need to basically win 3 of your next 4 to make it into the playoffs. This is a very winnable game against a Washington team that hasn't been playing good defense. Give us your prediction, final score, Commanders versus Rams, in the comment section below. But Miles, give me your thoughts on everything with the Rams right now, and specifically McVay, Stafford, and their offense.
Yeah, Nick, I think this is a very interesting piece because, like you said, if you look at the Ravens Rams game, there's more than meets the eye there. Baltimore ranked probably, arguably number one, number two defense in the NFL right now. It's a very, very good defense to go up against. The Rams score 31 points on them. That is the most, tied for the most points that anybody has put up on Baltimore all season long. Nonetheless, they don't get the victory, but I think this Rams team is pretty special because they are able to move the ball. They're able to do a whole lot of things that they weren't able to do in the past. I think partially a lot of that is due to the addition of a superstar in the making in Puka Nakua. He looks very good, paired with Cooper Kupp being healthy. I just think all of these pieces for the Rams finally coming together, this new offensive system, everything is starting to gel. And you feel like the Rams are in a really good spot. And it was only just a few years ago after the Super Bowl where people are like, well, the Rams, they're winding down. Aaron Donald might retire. They're going to get rid of Jalen Ramsey. It just like felt very dismal, felt very like doom and gloom for the Rams. Now you feel like, well, play your cards right, get in a good wild card spot, maybe fight through the playoffs. Something can happen now. This is a team that's really, like you said, interesting to watch, dynamic, fun. I like all of the, they're bigger, flashier plays that are more available now because Stafford has the arm strength, the ability to do those kind of things. I think this is just a Rams team that feels good. It looks good on paper, especially offensively. And I like what they did against Baltimore, but I really think that they have something going. Just like you said, all of these things coming together, this new offense for the Rams really feels good.
Especially when you go back to the Ravens game and you look at a Baltimore defense that's second in the NFL, to your point, in yards per game, giving up 285. I pulled up the stats while you were talking. the Rams actually had over 400 yards of offense, and they did it multiple ways. Stafford had big plays throwing the football out of the shotgun. They also lined up and ran the ball at times. And again, a great Baltimore Ravens defense. So what McVay is doing with this offense, and I think it's really smart, he's stealing a page, again, out of the old Patriots playbook. People forget those Patriots teams, and Rams fans, if you remember the Super Bowl, it was very similar. They could spread you out going gun with Brady, and then when it came time to go power football, they could line up an I formation and run it down your throat. That's exactly what McVay is establishing right now with the Los Angeles Rams. And it's that kind of football that makes you very viable when it comes time to the playoffs. That ability to go from spread high octane offense, but also the ability to pound it inside when necessary. And the Rams are going to need it because if they can get to the playoffs, they have a really good chance to make a run in a weak NFC. And if you look at the remaining schedule, Mize, there's a path for them. They have Washington this weekend. I think it's a very winnable game. They have the New Orleans Saints, another team fighting for the playoffs in the NFC, but the Saints have not been playing great football, and that game's in LA. I like the Rams there. Then they go to the Giants, who are a little frisky, but still the Giants aren't good. Should be a win for the Rams. That sets them up at 9-7 when they have to go to San Francisco, the final game of the regular season. The 49ers maybe could have clinched the first round number 1 overall seed at that point, so maybe there's a chance of 49ers rest some players. But even then, I think 9-8, having beaten the Seattle Seahawks, gives you a chance to get a lot of tiebreakers to get one of those last 2 wildcard spots in the NFC. And this is a Rams team, thanks to Stafford, thanks to McVay, thanks to that offense, that if they get into the playoffs, they could make some serious noise in the NFC.